Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Hello, welcome everyone to this presentation about HEC Paris. So again, I'm Zoey Crabb. I'm the recruitment manager at HEC. I am the point of contact for all students who are currently studying in Spain. So if ever, like what we're gonna do today is I'll give you a general presentation. It'll be about 40 minutes. And then if ever you have questions after today, we can do a Q&A after the presentation. And then if you have questions afterwards, you can always contact me. I'll give you my contact information. I'm joined by an alumni, Miguel. I'll let Miguel introduce himself.
Well, I'm an alumni. Yeah, I should be on screen. So I went to HEC from 2013 to 18. I did my master's degree there. And before that, because I went through the French track, which is not what you guys can do, right? I did 2 years in France prior to joining HEC, and then I did 5 years at HEC. And ever since, I've been involved in the startup ecosystem, both in France, Germany, and Spain. And currently, I'm working in the startup ecosystem in Spain.
Thank you for joining us, Miguel. I'm super happy to have you here to represent HEC and to give us the student perspective, although it's been a couple of years since you've been a student. What we'll do is I'll start out with Miguel to give a general presentation about HEC, the programs we offer, and then we'll go into specifics about our Master in Management, which is the partnership we have with UPM. And then we'll go into student life, the application process, and scholarships. And then afterwards, if you have questions, we can have a bit of a Q&A. I would like to, though, have you guys raise your hands, like who's here from the different UPMs? So can you raise your hand for like Caminos? Hey, cool, 2 people, awesome. How about Industriales? 3, great. How about Telecos? Excellent. And then for Minas and Engineering or Energy. Great. Okay, it looks like a good mix. I'm super happy to have all 4 of our UPM partners represented today. Thanks for coming, guys, from near and far. Okay, so HEC, we are an international business school. So general information about HEC is we have 4,500 students in degree-seeking programs with 150 nationalities represented. So that 64% international students, that's school-wide, and that number is also actually reflected in our faculty. So we do have about 2/3 of the faculty that are non-French. And then you can see like kind of the different international offices that we have throughout the world. We only have 1 campus outside of France. It's in Qatar, HEC Paris in Qatar. And then all these other are different, maybe alumni offices or international offices where we have bigger alumni networks. And so I'll ask Miguel, what was your experience with diversity at HEC in the classroom?
Well, there were surely people from almost every nationality on earth. And that was really impressive. Like I went to for example, here in Madrid, I was in the French school, so I already was kind of in a bicultural environment. And then I did my 2 years only with French people, so that was back to like non-diverse at all. Probably kind of what you do here in Spain with mostly Spanish people, right? And then walking into HEC was literally like, wow, okay, so there's like Asian people, American people from all countries, and also people that studied radically different things than what I had done. Because what I had studied before HEC was kind of a preparatory class that they do in France, with like you study math, philosophy, etc. It's kind of like studying business here in Spain. But then you walk into HEC, you have engineers, you have architects, you have doctors, you have people from pharmacy, and you're all together in the same classroom. You're learning basically the fundamentals of business, but you're also learning from the people next to you, not just the teacher. And that was, for me, that was amazing. I think that's the way to sum it up. Basically all my classrooms were like super diverse and amazing people next to me.
And that diversity is at the heart of HEC. It's one of our like pillars of HEC is diversity in the classroom, not only of nationalities, but also of academic backgrounds, which is what Miguel was talking about. We think it enriches the classroom to have students from all different academic backgrounds. So an international business school and now a professional business school. We have a career center that's really well connected in France, Europe at large, and in the UK. So you can see 25,000 internships and full-time positions on offer. We have job fairs throughout the year. that we say there's 5 job fairs, but really, I mean, there's so many, like I'd say a couple times a month, there's different companies that come to campus that are for like recruiting or doing interviews with students. And so there's just so many different opportunities to engage with professionals on campus and at the, like with all the different corporate connections and company partners that we have at HEC. Maybe you can talk about like the maybe job fairs that you did on campus, your relationship with Career Center.
Yeah, so I was thinking because I was with Pauline in class and I was remember we did a group presentation together. And she's a very good example of the amazing people you can have next to you. She's now an impact entrepreneur, I believe. I kind of follow her on social media. And she's really impressive. And already back in school, she was like already pushing projects, etc. So that's a good example of what I was saying. And in terms of connection to the career world, I remember, well, kind of your age, right? You're ending university or in the middle, sorry, again, back to university, and you're a bit afraid of what the professional world looks like, right? Because there's like many opportunities you don't really understand, or you feel like you don't have enough close contact with companies or people that work there. And what HC did is basically bridge that gap. So being able to actually be in the same room and talk with people that are already in these companies, that are already having these careers, and just talking with them in a kind of almost friendly way, because they are alumni like ourselves. And they were talking about their careers in obviously a passionate way, but also very close way. So it's not like reading online blogs, whatever, that feels distant. It's actually talking to real people. And this was very well organized because you have these career fairs. There's a big one, I think it's CAFO, it's still,
yeah.
So it's like all industries together. And then you have industry fairs. You have a finance fair, you have a consultant fair. So depending on what career you want to explore, even if you're not sure, I don't think anyone's sure about the career they want, but you want to explore, and it's the best way to do it because you have physical, actual people in front of you, friendly, welcoming. They're going to obviously sell you their industries because people are also there to kind of buy you as students, because as bright and brilliant students, everyone wants to work with you. But you also get a chance of exploring different careers and then saying, okay, what resonates better with me? What kind of people do I want to work with, or do I want to become? Because in the end, you have alumni that are just a few years older than yourselves. So yeah, it was very easy to connect with these industries. And then you realize HEC alumni are all over these industries. Like once you choose one, whether it's finance or consulting or startups, you see HEC alumni pop up, obviously in France because it's a French school, but also on international level. Here in Spain, for example, now I live in Spain, I work in Spain, there's HEC alumni in every industry. And that's also a way to connect, not only from the career fair when you're a student, but in your lifelong career, you're always going to be able to connect with people that are a few steps ahead of you, or a few steps lateral from you in other industries, and you always get to connect just because you're an HEC alumni.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Miguel. So a professional business school, and then we go into a practical business school. So at HEC, we have experiential learning. So you will be doing in the classroom, live case studies, company projects. We say your professors are sort of 50% research oriented and 50% practitioners in their respective fields. And we also have the quality of teaching at HEC, just many class hours and class hours, and smaller class sizes. So it says on the slide, around 55 students would be the largest class, but one of the alumni that I was speaking with the other day said most of her classes are 35 students and less. So it's, I'd say the majority of your classes would probably be 30 students, but your largest class around 55. Maybe, Miguel, do you have something, real life case study or company that
it was kind of like that. So in terms of class size, it's pretty much that. And you have, I would say the more practical classes are the smallest ones where you actually do real cases. And then you have kind of more big, how do you say this? Like theoretical classes with a lot of people. And also remember about the faculty, you said 50-50. You usually have one or two teachers that are really impressive from their research and academic background. You're like, wow. And you start listening and reading what they publish, and it's really impressive in many fields. So it can be I don't know, political science, business, finance, like a lot of stuff. And again, as with careers, depends on what you're passionate about. And then you also have very good like practical teachers because they come from the industry. I remember especially in finance class, it was basically a person that was working in the industry and part-time doing classes with HEC. He was a very young guy. He had like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years experience in the finance industry. So he was up to date with the industry and he was teaching us. So, and again, he was very close to us. And that was very interesting. And also the group and practical cases that I think also coming from an engineering background, that this can be very valuable because it gives you like a first impression of what the business world looks like. Because the business world is very much non-theoretical, right? There's a lot of, business books and theory, but the most important thing is, okay, let's look at a company at a certain point in time with a certain challenge in a given industry or a given sector. It can be like a turnaround or a new competitor coming in the market, but you study the actual case as it happened. And you try to solve it with material that you're given or your background as a business student, but you're actually trying to solve something that happened in real life. And that I think is super valuable. And it's the same way it's done in American business schools. It's, the case study method is something that's very famous and it's really well done.
Excellent. A great ambassador you are to HEC. So I think we're ready for our video. To our guy, yeah, thanks. Right. So that's HEC, the general information. And now to talk about the different programs we offer. So we start out today, I'll mostly be talking about our pre-experience programs because that's what's relevant to the audience. But just so you know, across HEC, we also have MBA, executive MBA, executive programs, also PhD options. So if maybe you're not like, you don't end up coming to us straight after your bachelor's or your master's or doing a double degree, you can always join us maybe a little bit further down your career as well. So to go into our pre-experience, I will just touch upon our summer school programs that we offer at HEC. So we actually have in our audience a summer school participant. So that's pretty cool. Maybe afterwards you can talk to him about his corporate finance experience that he had this year at HEC. So you're actually all eligible currently. It's for 18 years and older. They're 2-week programs in English. There's a lot of different subjects: finance, mergers and acquisitions, climate change, geopolitics, entrepreneurship, luxury. Really, there's just like some very interesting things. You get to experience HEC teaching methods for 2 weeks. You get to live on campus for 2 weeks. And so it's a great way to stay in touch with the school while you're maybe not ready to apply because you're in your bachelor's degree or not yet ready to apply for the double degree. And then we also have youth programs. If you have any younger siblings, these are for high school students. So now to go into specifics about our pre-experience program. So I'll mostly be talking about our Master in Management, the Grande École, which is the program that is offered with your double degree with UPM. We also have one-year programs in a lot of different areas, finance, marketing, strategy, etc. But this is not available to you through the double degree. So this is just in case that's also an option after your bachelor's to do a one-year program at HEC. So to talk about the class profile of our Master in Management program, so it's largely international, although most students are coming from Europe and France in particular. 52 nationalities represented, like there's a third of our student body approximately that are coming from an engineering background. But you can see that all academic backgrounds are eligible, and we do have many students from other, humanities, business backgrounds, etc. So the first year, I'll talk about the structure of the program. We have the first year of the program is generalist phase. So quickly, I'll just show you what it looks like. These are your core courses and elective courses that you are offered in the M1, the first year in the program. The idea is to really give you foundations in all different subjects of management and business. So marketing, company law, economics, finance, all these different subjects, just to give everyone the same, like grasping a global picture of business and management, since some students are coming from that background, but some, like an engineering student, wouldn't be coming from business and management. So it really will give you all the foundations in that area. And if you so wish, you can also waive like statistics if you're coming from an engineering background, and then you get to take another elective in that spot. So maybe Miguel, you can talk about your M1 year.
Yeah, this is pretty much what I did. I was just going through the courses. Some bring better memories than others. But yeah, so this is the structure because again, as I went through the French track, I was more with the French students. But many of my friends from those years were people like you. They came from UPM Madrid or Catalunya, and they came from an engineering background. I would say the M1 is where you discover basically campus life and kind of the business and management world, especially if you come from an engineering only background. And this is where you kind of, entering the HEC community. And then maybe you can come back to the slide where with the gap year. Yeah, because that is an important one. Before your M2, so your second year where you actually specialize in something, you get to have 1 year of real professional experience in those sectors that I mentioned before in the career fairs. I think for me, that is the transformative year when you come to HEC. You get to work in the best companies, in the best, it's usually trainee programs. So you're a trainee for a year, or you can do half a year, so you do two experiences, or even now, I believe you can do also 2 gap years, or for some students, because some in my class did that. So you get 2 years of professional experience before the M2, and then in the M2 you specialize. In my case, it was in company law, and I was not a lawyer at all, but I was really interested in how companies address legal challenges, whether it's mergers and acquisitions, whatever. And this was very useful later in my career. And then you get to work with people that are passionate about your field, whether it's, as you mentioned, like luxury or consulting or finance. So for me, it's so in 3 years, you have this, okay, I walk into the business world, I enjoy campus life, I build my community, then I walk into the professional world, and also this enriches the community because many of my friends and classmates are doing different experiences, different companies. Sometimes you swap, like a friend of yours did a consulting program and he tells you about it and you're like, okay, I'm going to apply to that because I really like what you're telling me. Then you come back to HEC to M2, and then you're like, okay, which career or which sector am I most passionate about? And then after M2, and this is where the magic happens, is you're super employable all around the world, especially France, of course, but also going back to Spain, you're going to have better opportunities than without this. You can go to the US, you can go to Asia. HEC has presence all over the world, the HEC community. So after those 3 years, you're like 25 or 26 years old, and you're super employable in basically all industries around the world. So, and for me, that moment was, okay, when you get the graduation cap and N2, you're like, okay, I can really work in anything I like. And then that's another challenge because you have to choose. You have many options and then you have to choose and commit to a career. But I would say this 3-year structure kind of catapults you to a position where you're, I don't know, many times more employable than you are before doing that or before doing other masters or other experience after your bachelor's.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So just overview. So that first year, the generalist phase, you're grasping a global picture of business and management, you're developing leadership skills, soft skills, etc. Then you have the optional gap year, which is in fact more like a mandatory gap year if you haven't worked prior to joining this the program. Even if you have worked for prior to joining the programs, a lot of students take advantage of the gap year for many of those reasons that Miguel talked about.
Yeah, I would say, because it says optional, but I would say, I mean, you have to do it because the quality of opportunities that you have to do this gap year. So you're in M1, you go to these career fairs, you have basically the best consulting firms in the planet, you have the best finance firms. You can also commit to industries that you like. I don't know, you're passionate about fashion or food. You have the best companies in the world for that career, and they're also begging you to come because they're recruiting talent there. So not doing that gap year, in my opinion, would be a mistake. You can always go back after M2, but you can also try an industry without actually committing to it for 6 months. And that is a super opportunity.
Exactly.
And you're not even done with masters. So that's also what HEC gives you, is it gives you an access to an industry with super high quality trainee and internship programs in the best companies, and you're not even graduated with a master's yet.
And it's what I like to say about the master in management is that it's the perfect transition from your full-time studies to the working world, because you have that gap year in the middle where you get to test things out, test the waters, and then you go into your second year of the program where you have to specialize. And that's where you take what you learned in the gap year and what you learned in the M1, and then you apply it practically in our specialization, different options that you have. So I'm just going to go in and show you the here. It's so you have a couple of options. If you are applying through the double degree with UPM, you have 2 options. And if you are an independent student from UPM, you have 3 options for your specialization. So the first option is specialize at HEC, do an in-house specialization. And so any of these programs that you see here, finance, strategy, entrepreneur, digital marketing, econ, etc. So just quickly, what did you specialize in, Miguel?
So I was here, this is in French, but it's basically fiscal and legal strategy. But I didn't do the joint degree. Because some of my classmates were doing the joint degree, so they were going to a law school in Paris, basically, and they were not lawyers. Some of them then passed the bar exam to be a lawyer, but not all of them. Some of them just ended up working in companies, but they knew the legal side. But I did all of it in the HEC Paris campus. Okay. Well, actually, not even the campus, because our classes were with, it was funny, were with actual law firms in Paris. So you went to class to an actual company, and your teacher is a law partner in a firm, which I think it's great for real world experience. It's not a teacher that doesn't work in the industry.
Okay, so that option is only available if you are not applying through the partnership with UPM, because you're already doing a double degree, and so doing a double degree isn't possible. Like it's illegal in Spain. So that's only available to you if you're not applying through the partnership. But you could do, so that's the second option, is to do a double degree in France. These are your options, although most of them are in French. So there's only one option that if you don't speak French that's available to you. It's the one at Sciences Po. And then, so that is, oops, I think I'm in the wrong direction. So option 1, stay at HEC and do one of our in-house specializations. Option 2 is to do a double degree, but only if you are not doing a double degree already in France or abroad. And the third option is specialization in international business. And this one's available to students who are in the partnership with UPM. So this would be, you do one semester at HEC and then one semester in a partner business school, usually a business school in Europe, although we do also have some partners in Australia and the US for this international business program. Do you know any students that did this?
Actually, many of the EPM students went through this, and the cool thing is, okay, you come from Madrid, you come from UVM, great school in Madrid, but we're still in Spain. You go to France, that's a leap. And HEC is one of the top schools in France. And then from HEC, you leap into a bigger US school. So I believe you know these names, or even outside the US, but like international.
Europe, like there's Bocconi, St. Gallen,
exactly.
Sade in Spain.
And that's yet another jump because yeah, HEC is a big school in France and international, but then you're having 3 alma maters for the future. So you're also connecting with students from St. Gallen, which is kind of the HEC in Switzerland or in Italy. Yeah. You can also relocate to other countries. Maybe you like friends who stay in France, but maybe you do 1 year in Milan or 1 year in Switzerland. You love it, you stay there. And that's a great option. If you're already an international student, then why not take a second leap and then have these 3 experiences?
Especially if maybe you didn't have a chance to do an Erasmus when you were at UPM, this is an option to kind of do an equivalent. It's not an Erasmus, but it is an exchange semester when you're in.
It's more than an Erasmus, right? Because, well, I'm not against Erasmus at all, but I believe that when you're young, you're still in your bachelor's degree. When you have experience abroad, you're mostly going to, let's say, learn at university, but also have fun outside. But maybe you don't have a lot of connections with the professional world where you go. You go to an Erasmus, I don't know, in Estonia, maybe you're too young to connect with the professional world there. If you go to St. Gallen, you go to Bocconi, you have the companies of those countries and global companies that are recruiting people like you at that very time, and you stay for a whole year. So that's, yeah, I would say a bit more than an Erasmus.
No, it's only a semester.
It's only a semester.
Yeah, but
like you do one in HEC and one in.
But that is a really good point about like being more mature and being able to connect professionally. Absolutely. So now we're going to talk about career paths. So after HEC, what can you do? And these are just some pictures of our illustrious alumni. I don't know, does anyone pop out at you?
Sandro, they play football with him. He's not very good at football. Well, Stanislas, this is a really impressive guy. He founded a huge company, well, Frédéric Mazella, as well. Yeah, because we were discussing that before. Tigran also, and now lives in Madrid. I don't know if you've been to restaurants from the Big Mama group. Yeah, well,
he's HEC.
He's HEC and he lives now in Madrid. And yeah, I was discussing with Zoey before that in the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years since I went to HEC, it's gotten really strong at entrepreneurship. So either you join an established industry, an established company, or you have a really good shot at building new businesses. Those guys prove it. And also in terms of the masters, I believe you showed the dual degrees with Polytechnique for entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Because that is a really good opportunity. So obviously you're engineers, but you have the business background from HEC. And then you can partner with Polytechnique students who are really big brains like yourselves, but in France. And that should really prepare to build new businesses, to build apps, to build solutions for all industries. And you get to know them on campus in the last year before you want to go. And some of these guys did that.
The entrepreneur, for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. But then you also have investment banking careers and consulting careers. Totally. I'm a bit biased because I'm in the entrepreneurship world. But yeah, you can see that in any industry you have high performers that come from it.
And so this is a career path. So you can see the different sectors that we go into. I think that this slide doesn't go into the entrepreneur that Miguel was talking about, but we do say 8% of our students actually do create their own company after graduating. So across sectors, it's not necessarily all startups, but yeah, like 8% of our students go into
build their own business. Yeah, because not all entrepreneurship is startup. Startup is supposed to be like a high growth technology company. You can also build or buy traditional businesses and operate them. Yeah. And this is also very interesting for Ripa. I know someone in the audience knows about it, about buying old businesses. But it's also very lucrative business.
And but as you can see as well, where students are going after graduation, largely it's France, Europe at large, and the UK. And that's because HEC, we are well connected And we are the #1 business school in Europe. The Master in Management is the #1 in the world. But the majority of our career connections and corporate connections and company partners are based in Europe continent as well as the UK. So that's why you can see it's like something like 80% of students are in those, but we do have some students, smaller percentages that go elsewhere around the world. And that's an opportunity for you to create, connect with our alumni network. So here you can see some more pictures of alumni. There are 70,000 alumni in 150 countries, 1,000 events per year. Last year, Miguel and I hosted an event here in Madrid with our alumni. Yes, with Tigran. And 85 chapters worldwide. So that's another thing that you can leverage in your getting a degree from HEC is that alumni network. Wherever you go in the world, or like if you're starting a company, you can contact alumni, you can contact them for maybe jobs, or contact them for, starting a company if you're looking for like funds or something like that.
Or co-founders as well.
Co-founders as well. Yeah, I'll let you talk about your alumni because that's and come and do presentations that
Yeah, I mean, well, right now, so a few years after graduation, you're already into your professional career, and you realize that, and maybe this is a few years after actually graduating, because when you are, first year consultant or analyst in industry, what you do is you learn from the people above you, you execute, learn a lot, but at some point in your career, you realize most of what you do depends also on the connections you can have. And especially like close connections with people that you can learn from, you can trust, etc. And for me, it's been definitely HEC alumni community. Obviously in France, I started my career in France, but then I came back to Spain. And being here in Spain, one of my trusted communities is the HEC alumni in Spain. So it's people, both from French people that relocated to Madrid, but also Spanish people that went to HEC to study, and now they're working in either Spanish or international companies here in Spain with really good positions. Actually, so one of the guys that couldn't make it today, Antonio, I was going to see him later. He, as yourself, he was from Teleco, but he was from BN, went to HEC, and now he works in finance in Crédit Agricole, so a French company, but he's here in Spain in the corporate finance team. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant career. And now he was talking to me about I want to, leave my job and what are the opportunities, what we can do, and one of the first people or the first communities you refer to is your alumni, because you want to see what they're doing, you see different career paths, different industries, and that's where opportunities emerge. And for me, that's the case today, whether it's for building new companies or looking for funds or looking for jobs, because I want to work with people that share my values and also share my ambition, let's say, and a lot of HEC alumni are leading big companies today. So I recognize a few from those. So Emmanuel Faber, so the CEO of Danone, he's a really inspiring character because he talks a lot. I don't know if you've heard about this. It's called stakeholder capitalism. So it's basically trying to introduce like non-financial indicators into companies, and he's leading that transformation in Danone. That's Fujisimo. So she's very high in Facebook Meta. She was one of the first employees. And now she's leading Instacart, so a big startup that actually IPO'd last year. This is Le Slip Français, so an entrepreneur that built an e-commerce for underpants, and he's really well. That's Le Slip Français. And I don't think I recognize the rest. Maybe they're just corporate people. That's the entrepreneurs I really recognize, and they all come from the base.
I think this slide speaks for itself. It's just corporate engagement at HEC, where people come from to our career fairs or to different like recruitment events to HEC. I don't know, do you have anything to add about this?
Well, yeah, I mean, you see all these guys in campus. So it's basically the career fairs, but also some of them you see in class. So for example, you're going to have a class in digital marketing, and you're going to have someone from Orange or Société Générale who's in charge of a digital marketing project or product inside the company working real time, and they're sharing their challenges with you. Well, you have the usual suspects, like you have the consulting firms, you have the big banks, and also you have like the premium French companies. And this is something, as Zoey said before. So HEC is based in France, but if you look at France, so the CAC 40, which is the equivalent of IBEX 35 here in Spain, probably almost all sectors are represented, and France has leading companies in all sectors. So it's not just luxury, it's also pharma, it's industry, it's defense. So, and especially for engineers, like all the engineering sectors or industrial sectors you're interested in, you have a world leader in that industry who is, as I said, begging to recruit you, and you're going to have to choose between these 40 logos. So it's pretty impressive.
Great. I couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, so campus life. Now we're going to switch gears, go into campus life and then admissions. So we do have a large campus. It's not actually located in Paris. It's closer to Versailles. It's in the suburbs. There are regular transport to Paris, but as international students, you are guaranteed on-campus housing. And I highly encourage anyone that has access to on-campus housing to take advantage of that, because you really get to enjoy the campus life. You get to like take most advantage of your time at HEC by living on campus. Maybe Miguel, I'll let you talk about your experience at HEC campus life. Yeah.
But you touched on an important point, Zoe. It would be a mistake as an international student to live in Paris as opposed to in campus. And this is counterintuitive, but some international students do it every year. I believe it's a mistake because you're far away from where the action is. So the action is, okay, you're, as I said before, you're building a community with students. So this is playing sports, associations, partying on campus. So that's also solved. You don't need to look for a party elsewhere. The party is on campus, so that's solved. And also all the, obviously, classes, but careers. Every day there's something going on campus that you might not have heard about, but you go through the corridor and you're like, okay, there's a consultant session, or there's a digital marketing workshop, whatever. So you're there and you take advantage of that. So yeah, you can go to Paris. Paris is a wonderful city. I'm sure you've all been. You can, and there's, as you said, regular trips. You can do a wine trip. You can visit. So you can party there. But living there, I believe, would be a mistake. And also, yeah, it's at least the largest campus in Europe I've seen. Because if you go, for example, to London, the business schools in London, they have campuses in London, but then it's not really a campus because you have the, let's say, academic life in the building, but then everyone's split up. The good thing about HEC is that this community is people next door or next building, and you get to have all these. You can in the same day, go to class, go to career fair, play sports, and have a party all in the same location. Whereas if you're in Paris, you have to organize, and Paris is super big, so you might be, again, far from the action, and this is what you don't want. You want to be close to the action. So yeah, campus life, all in.
Yes, and that's part of the reason that we have such an active alumni network is because students such as Miguel have such a strong connection to campus, and they create such strong connections by being part of clubs on campus, or when they live there, they just create such a strong community, and then that's why we have such positive memories of the time at HEC, and why we afterwards have such an active alumni network. So going in, I think the next bit is how to apply to HEC. So I'm specifically talking about the partnership we have with UPM, which is different than the way that Miguel applied to HEC, and which is different than if you are not a master's student at UPM, how to apply. So how to apply, we are going to be looking at 4 aspects of your application. First, academic excellence. So usually our students from UPM are nominated by their school based on their GPA. So usually you already have academic excellence, check. Then cross-cultural sensitivity, that you make evident in the number of languages that you speak, if you've traveled abroad, if you've lived abroad, if you've studied abroad, if you worked in an international company, if you've participated in a multicultural club, those things that are all contributing towards cross-cultural sensitivity. Internships or extracurricular activities, we want to see students that are great students that are achieving a really high GPA, but we also want to see students that have participated in something outside the classroom. So whether that be an internship or a club or volunteer work, we just want to see students that have participated in their community, because that's indicative that you'll participate in HEC and our community, and then perhaps later in the alumni network. And then the last point is strong motivation, and you make that evident in your answers to the essay questions. and then eventually if you make it to an interview. Those 4 elements of your application, there's not anything that's going to be eliminatory if you don't have it. So if you've not had the opportunity, for example, to study abroad, you aren't going to be eliminated right off the bat because perhaps you have something that's really amazing in your application, a great, like you were president of a club, or you had an awesome internship opportunity, or you just are top of your class. These are we'll look at your whole application and your whole candidature, and some things can always compensate or weigh differently in our admissions process. So the application process is, I'll show you the deadlines on the next slide, but first the application, so you have to apply. With those documents, it's a bit lighter, the application through UPM, the partnership degree, than if you apply separately. So that's what's nice, is that you don't have to pay an application fee, you don't need a management test, and we don't require an English test. You just have to provide the documents listed there by the deadline. Then after the deadline, we'll evaluate your application, and we'll decide if we're inviting you to an interview or not. Another advantage to applying through the double degree partnership is that almost all students from the double degree, from the partner schools, will be granted an interview. So you don't have to be like that worried for the admissibility. The next step is the interview. So that's 20 to 25 minutes on Zoom. You're with 2 HEC representatives. That's it could be an HEC staff member, one of my colleagues in admissions, maybe even a recruitment person, but not me, because I'll be obviously highly biased in your favor. It would be maybe someone from another department, etc. And then usually an alumni. Have you done any interviews as
No,
alumni?
I've never.
Sure. Do you want to?
I could do so.
So it's 2 people, 2 HEC representatives, usually an alumni, an HEC staff member, 20 to 25 minutes. We're evaluating 3 things. We're evaluating your oral level of English, your soft skills, and your motivation for the program. After the interview, then you'll receive your admission results. Oops. Okay, so for our double degree, these are for students that are already in their master's at UPM. We ask that you apply in round 3 or round 4. You will have the nomination, hopefully from your university. And if possible, I'm going to ask all of your deans, vice deans to try and get your nominations by round 3, because we will be accepting students in every round. But by the time round 4 happens, we've already probably admitted the majority of students. So HEC, we, especially the MIN program, we're #1 in the world. We have highly competitive admission. A nomination from your school gets you a lot of advantages. You don't have to provide all the documents. You don't have to worry about getting an interview, but you aren't guaranteed admission. So you give yourself your best chance in applying by round 3. Because like round 4, there's just highly competitive, it's highly competitive in every round, but in round 4, we have less spaces. And so if you apply in round 3, you'll have your results by mid-April. Going into scholarship. So we have 2 types of scholarships at HEC. There's needs-based and merit-based. You are automatically considered for a merit-based scholarship if you are admitted to HEC. So there's no application necessary. You will just, after the admission results, our scholarship jury will evaluate your application for if you'd like to just attribute you a merit-based scholarship. So that's pretty cool that you don't have to apply to anything, and you're just automatically considered. Then if you'd like to apply to needs-based scholarships, there's an application within the application where you click like, would you like to apply to needs-based scholarship? You click yes, and then it opens up a questionnaire about your finances, that of your parents, financial documents like tax information, etc. And then both of these types of scholarships, you'll find out if you were attributed one within like 1 week of your admission results. Usually it's within a couple of days after you've received your admission results, you'll find out if you were granted a scholarship. And then I just like to touch upon as well. So the maximum amount of scholarships, as you can see, is ranges from 3,000 to 15,000 euros. But I would like to touch upon Beca Avenir, which is a scholarship specifically for Spanish students. So you apply to the French Embassy of Spain, and you get like basically you apply, and then hopefully you would be just granted 5,000 scholarship from HEC. So that's a great thing as well. Those results come out a little bit later. So if you apply in round 3, you probably wouldn't find out if you got Beca Avenir until a little bit later. But it's a good thing to apply, because if you're not granted one of these other scholarships, you could find out a little bit later, hey, I got 5,000 euros. That's great. So consider that, and I'll send you that information for Beca Avenir after when I send you the thank you for attending email. So that concludes the presentation, and now I'd love to open up the floor to questions to Miguel or myself. Thank you for attending, and feel free to contact me at this email address after.